Dr. Valerie, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
I'm excited to have you on. I'm looking forward to our conversation, where this is going to go, and what we're going to share with the listeners. Before we dive into those things, can you tell us a little bit about how you got into what you're doing? What's your story? Was it that linear track? Was it a bounce around? Tell me a little bit about how you got into what you're doing today.
Well, I'm a behavior analyst. That's a big part of my identity. I think personally as well as professionally. So I didn't always know that, but I'm always interested in what motivates people and understanding why certain choices are made over others, and those outcomes and how it kind of directs a person's life. And behavior analysis is very interested in the contextual variables that explain learning. So, how did you get to where you are? How does your current environment continue to support the patterns of responding that you tend to have? And then moving forward, if you want to change, if there's something about what's going on with you now that you would like to modify, what can you use about that information to make that change easier and sustained? So that's the cool thing about behavior analysis. It looks at the patterns of responding, but it takes a deeper look at why we do those things. And it's not just how a behavior looks superficially, but understanding the purpose it serves you. Because all of our habits, even if we think they're unhelpful to us, even if we kind of want to lose them or we outgrew them, but they're still sticking around, they serve a purpose. They have value. And even if they're not healthy or they cause us problems, they still fit into the ecology of our behavioral responses in our day. So just a little bit of question asking and a little bit of noticing contextual variables, and progress towards change can be much easier. So that's what inspired me, and that's what keeps me going.
I love that. So is it something that, because I love how you're talking about it's not just on the surface, it's something that's a little deeper. If you don't mind me getting into it, then what kind of dictates an individual's behavior to act or be a certain way then?
Well, it could be problem solving. We're solving different problems where we're trying to communicate. One of the early experiences I had professionally was working in the marital research lab at Penn State when I was an undergrad. And it was actually very cool. They videotaped married couples. They told them, okay, pick a problem in your life that isn't really resolved and sit here and talk about it for 10 minutes, and we're going to videotape you. So me and a partner were in charge of watching these videos. And then every 15 seconds, we would make a decision about not what was said, but what was the message that was conveyed. So humor is a really good example. Like if married couples are talking and then someone says something that is meant to be humorous, the purpose of that is probably not to just kind of stop and tell a joke. There's some kind of purpose to it. Maybe things are getting tense and they want to break the tension. Maybe they're feeling hostile and they want to convey that hostility, like with sarcasm. Maybe they're feeling disconnected from their partner and they just want to reconnect in some light way before they move on with the conversation. So once you have an opportunity to look at that and see what the actual purpose or function of the response is, you have an opportunity to see how it fits and substitute it with a different response or modify it in some way so that they're still obtaining what they need and what they want at that time, because it is solving a problem, but doing it with a response that works better for them.
I like that. That had to be a lot of fun. You probably saw a lot of cool things.
It was really fun. Yeah, it was very interesting. It was. I could have done that all day.
When you were talking about a problem that's unresolved, I was like, I could just feel the tension. So I was like, that had to be interesting in a lot of ways. let's look, with behavior, because there's a lot of people that say, like, you change your habits, you change your life, you do this and that, and I agree to a certain point with that. But um, even when it comes to just like things, why is it then, like, when it comes to behaviors, you remember me asking then, like, being I'm in health and coaching, and it's in health. I always when it comes to, like, people ask me questions about, like, certain stuff, and I'm like, I don't have to teach you nutrition, nutrition, and they'll be like, well, yeah, I do. I know I need to do better. I know these things. I just don't do it. And you probably hear that often too. And it's like one of those things where it's like, but why? Why is it that humans, because it's a lot, I mean, I even catch myself time to time with certain things. I'm like, I know I need to do this. I just need to nip this in the butt and do it. Why am I avoiding? Um, why is it that we do it in that way, that we know we have to do something? We know it's beneficial for us, but yet we still don't.
I love that. I love that you're telling your clients nutrition and you already know what you need to do, because my interest right now is with weight loss, and the weight loss programs that are out there kind of begin with this assumption that people don't know what healthy food is. And I disagree, especially for most people, it's not going to be their first attempt at this. Before, they probably learned it along the way. And the problem, not that we all could learn a little bit more about nutrition, but the problem is not that you don't know that, cheese curls and carrots don't have the same nutritional value and which one you should be eating. The problem is the actual response, and why are you doing one instead of the other. And it comes down to the types of motivation that we have. There's two types. One is to escape or avoid, and that is motivation where we feel cornered, or we feel like we should be doing something. Like you were saying about your clients, I know I should be doing that. Why am I not doing that? That's the one type of motivation. That motivation can be fleeting. We get upset, and then we have a high level of that kind of motivation. But then as we start to make progress, and okay, I'm motivated to escape or avoid these shoulds, and I just had a couple of days of healthy eating, so now I feel more like a competent adult, or whatever I'm saying to myself about this. So that motivation kind of goes away, and there's nothing to sustain it. And the other type of motivation is motivation to pursue. So you have value in this thing that you're trying to do, and in doing it, you're accessing that value. So noticing how your body feels when you eat differently, preparing healthier meals for your family as well, and feeling good about that you're taking care of your loved ones. Looking for ways that these new, more desirable behaviors have value for you, and then actively accessing it. And that is the big distinction. And then that type of motivation, called positive reinforcement, that is generalized and that is maintained. That doesn't go away. You're always going to be trying to access that value. And if you kind of come away from it for, circumstances in your life, you go on vacation or it's the holidays and you kind of get a little scrambled with what you were intending to do, that value is always there waiting for you, and you know how to access it. And it's already been established as an important motivator for you.
Sounds like the second one is the one we want to have, because it's always
Definitely.
there. Now, because even then I'm still looking at it then, like, 'cause you're talking about values and stuff, and I love that. Is it our behavior then, is it somewhat dictated by values then? Because we're talking about motivation, and you're talking about, like, they have that value. Like, for me, no matter what happens in my life, I will always take care of my health first, because I know it's the highest thing on my, because even over family and everything else, and somebody's like, I can't believe you say that, you're a family guy. I am a family guy, but if I'm not healthy, I can't be there for my family. If I'm not healthy, I can't serve my purpose and my passions and my visions and all the things I want to do. So I know that's my number one thing. I got to take care of me before I can do anything else. Is these things that some people who are listening to this, like, yeah, I wish I could have, you're kind of sharing a little bit about what you're talking there. Is this something that we can train and change and learn, or is it just instilled in some people?
Well, you're saying that being healthy is an important part of your identity. Really, it's your first priority. for you. And that is your intrinsic motivation. That is who you are. When you, in your situation, because it's so important to you and it's your highest value, when you're pursuing your health, you're connecting with your own authenticity, and that is important. So what I would say is, what is more important than our mental health? Our mental health has to be first. And when you can identify what is important to you and follow your own lead, it takes confidence, because we do have all these shoulds. But if you can be confident and accept the patterns that you have in your life and pursue the value that you already have, that's already intrinsically part of you, then you'll be following your own lead, and you'll be achieving your goals in a very natural way.
So let's say I'm going to use another analogy. So there's another, and I don't know if it's all about me, but it's just I'm using myself as an example. So there's things that I do not enjoy that I just, like if it's pop culture or things in like artsy like things. Not that I love art, but I don't love. There's just certain stuff. So I don't know if I'm going off tangent here, but I'm trying to just pull a different example.
Mm-hmm.
Is it because kind of what you're sharing? The way I'm kind of picking up on it is like, when you follow your intrinsic motivations, is that like another path then to leading to more like fulfillment, then to more happiness? But how does someone discover that then too? Because some people may be listening to this going, I don't know what I really want, because there's so much in their head. So it's like, I don't know if I want this. I don't know if I really want that. What's really important? Is there a certain dialogue, certain set of questions that people can like get rid of all the noise in a sense, or get through the move the trees out of the way so we can get to the center of the forest, kind of a thing?
Love that. That's so cool. Yeah. The noise, when you say quiet all the noise, what I automatically think of is all the tapping and scrolling and checking that we do all day long on our phones. And what a huge distraction that is. That is that first type of motivation I talked about, the escape and avoidance motivation. We feel bored, we feel uncomfortable, we're in the middle of a transition, we feel stuck mentally, whatever's going on, that's when we pick up our phones. We're working on our checklists, oh, I have to email this person, oh, I have to check this thing. That's where we go. When you pick up your phone, reflect on that. Reflect on how you're trying to just kind of like push things out of your way all day. And it's not about pursuing, it's about escaping. And it's that cornered feeling that we all hate and we all experience as adults. As far as like finding your authenticity, I think that it is easiest when you're looking at a single problem in particular. And one thing that comes to mind is getting started with an exercise program, because that's something that adults tend to struggle with, but children don't. Children love to be active, and they go about it completely differently. Children, you don't have to tell a child, okay, go outside and run around like crazy. They just do it. You give a kid a ball, they will show you a ton of different ways to use it. They love being active. They love going outside. And they're doing it because they love it, not because someone said they should, not because they're concerned about their health. Adults go about it the other way. They go about it because they start with, I should be exercising more, or I read the standard that it should be an hour 4 times a week, and that's what I have to do. And let me just start with that goal and just kind of like, shame myself until I'm doing it. Another way to go about it is to take a note from kids and pursue exercise. So begin with the question, what do I enjoy doing to be active? What did I do when I was a kid? When I was a kid, I swam a lot, and I learned how to swim well. And now as an adult, I swim, and it doesn't feel like going to the gym. It feels like It feels like me time. I love the way I feel when I'm done. I love doing it. So start there. What did I like to do? And for some of these things, it's going to be possible, and others it won't. You know, maybe you enjoyed running, and training for a 5K would feel really good to you. But for other people, maybe it's a team sport that you don't have access to, whatever it is. If that's the case, then you can choose an exercise and then find value around it. Like someone was telling me, she was a personal trainer, and she really liked keeping a log of her exercise. She said, I still hate exercising. I just don't like to do it. I have to force myself. But I keep this log, and I write what I did, and I write down how I felt when I was done. And this is a diary of value. She's doing something that makes the exercise important to her and makes it personal. So the extent to which you can do that, you know, even if it's just noticing how you feel when you're done, enjoying a healthy meal afterwards, getting yourself some pretty workout clothes, whatever it is, you have to be pursuing. You have to be pursuing that.
I love it. I love how you bring up kids. I use that in my coaching because I always tell people how I want to get them to like a 3, 4 year old because that's peak imagine state. Your peak of imagination is at that level at the brain, and then also they just do what they love. But it's so true. I mean, kids, they just love. I have a 21-month-old, and she just loves running stairs. She'll climb all day long. Take her outside. She runs up and down hills, and I'm just like, I love it. Keep it up. But it's designed to move, and they know that. But I love how you brought up the concept of bringing that value to it again. Like, what is it that you enjoyed as a kid? I mean, I was thinking about myself. I'm like, sports. I love playing sports. It was my way of escaping. Although I love working out and doing those things. Working out's great. I love it. I enjoy more the gains I get from it. So when I look back and I look at the results, I'm like, all right, but look at the strength I have here. Look at what I was able to do here. Look at I was able to take that challenge now, which I thought was hard. Now I can accomplish it. It's pretty not that bad. And so, I always joke because I share this, and I've shared this over my podcast. Like, I used to use workout as a tool to get rid of my frustration and anger when I was as a teenager. And I go now, I mean, not that I don't get frustrated or angry, but it's like I've learned to calm the mind down through meditation and breath work and mindfulness. I'm like, I don't have as much as that motivating factor to externally to push. But I look at it in other ways, and I think that's a really big key. What you shared is about finding that value, whatever works for you. Like, you love swimming, and it's your me time. You're taking care of your body through that. But at the same token, it's a mental thing too. And I think that's the biggest key for people who are listening is like finding that and being able to enjoy it and go and just do this and be like, this is just me, my time, and I love it, and it escapes. And I think that that's a huge component for mental health and for so many other things.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
I love.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just thinking, your example was so perfect because it was when you were younger, you were doing exercise to escape, avoid, because you had this anger and frustration. And then as an adult, you didn't have that anger and frustration at the same intensity. So you had to switch gears and use exercise to pursue. So that's lovely.
It was like in my mid 20s. I remember it was starting to happen where I'm like, I don't go as intense in the gym anymore. I'm like, what's happening here? And this is why I've been on like already a 5-year journey of like meditation and breath work and yoga. And I'm just like, all right, I used to use this to, this is my way of getting frustrated and angry, escaping, putting energy into that. And then it was like, I got to figure something out here. I got to put another value to this. So my health mind kicked in, was like, oh yeah, it's good for your body. It's good for longevity. It's good for this. And I'm like, no, that doesn't stick because it's a mind thing. And I'm like, it's got to be something else. How can I look at this? And then honestly, one of the big motivating factors internally was my wife and I decided to wait a little later to have kids. So I'm 40 years old, and so I was like, I'm going to be an older dad. I was like, my motivating factor now in working out, what I don't make sure I never miss because of it, is I want to be young and active. I mean, heck, there's certain things I can't do movement wise. And literally my wife and I was watching on Netflix, the Blue Zones. I've read the book. I always tell people I highly recommend reading the book, but I saw an 87-year-old man do a deep squat, not even thinking, not even slow, just like my daughter does it. And I looked at that and I go, yep. I'm like, honey, we need to change our that. No, we have to be. I need to be able to do that. I go, it's going to take me a little bit, but maybe a couple of years. But I don't care how long it takes. I need to be able to do that, and not because of just doing a deep squat. I need mobility to stay young. And so I was like, that fit my value. So I was like, all right, and I'm like, okay, that's what I need to do. And so literally, I was like, let's change our dining room table to a Japanese level table. And I'm just gonna have to learn to deal with the pain until I can get through this. And what mentally helps me is seeing myself with my kids when I'm older, not being slow and mobile, not having that flexibility to mobility, but to be able to do all that and even then some. So
Oh,
is
that's
those
cool.
things? Okay, I'm
That's a
sorry.
full commitment. I was just with the dining room table. That's a full commitment.
Well, my wife looked at me. We watched it, and immediately I'm like on Amazon right after, and I'm going, "All right, what size you want? 13-inch, height on the table. Want to go 11? Which one you want to do?" And she's like, "So I'm like, we'll go 13, and we'll get it right around 15 inches." And so we have. I don't use it every day like I should be, but I'm able to sit crisscross now. I wasn't even able to do that. And I can hold. I can have a dinner. I don't look the most comfortable, but I can do it for like 30 minutes now, and I'm like, okay, we're getting there. And then my
Hmm.
body, when I get up, I look like a 95-year-old man who hasn't even walked ever before, who laid in a bed for a year. I'm like, really, like, it's funny. I laugh about it, but then I feel I can tell little micro differences in my
Hmm.
body after. And I'm like,
Hmm.
cool. And then when I'm hanging with my daughter, I can sit on the floor now and do certain things. And I'm just like, all right. In my mind, I just keep playing that tape like, this is the things I need to continue to do and get better at. So that way I can be that young, I'm an older dad, but I'm actually be a young dad in that way.
Hmm. Right.
And are these things that people can do who are listening? Is these things that you do and work on? Do you like, is those things you advise to do? Like, again, finding value, finding the things that matter so you can do the things and maintain them and so forth. Like we talked about that motivation thing and the second part of it.
Yeah. There's really cool concept in behavior analysis. It's called behavioral momentum. And behavior analysts look at motivation maybe differently than we do in everyday life, where if you're trying to do something, you're really psyched about it. But then, like, motivation almost seems like superstitious. Like, I woke up really motivated today. I don't know why, but yay, And then, oh, at 3 o'clock, I lost all my motivation. When's it going to come back? I don't know. And, tomorrow I woke up less motivated, where we kind of look at it more like, what are the variables that support a high level of motivation, and how can you actively adjust your level of motivation and keep it at the levels that you need it to be. So behavioral momentum is really cool. It's when we do something easy that's in the direction we want to go. So, like if you were in a classroom, I used to work with kids with autism, and we would ask them to do easy things like, show me how you clap your hands. And they'll happily do it because they like to clap their hands and they like to show adults that they can do things, but they're also responding to, the teacher's request. So it's a step in the right direction, and then we can slowly move them towards more difficult tasks. So in everyday life, behavioral momentum can be done by just finding 10 minutes to do something for future you. And by future you, I mean like 8 hours from now, like when you wake up in the morning, or when it's towards the end of the day, you're going to need something to, keep you going and give you that boost. So something like spending 10 minutes, cleaning. I always go to the cleaning example because it's just always the last thing on my list, but it gives me like a big boost of motivation when I do it. Stretching, stretching, you're not exercising, but you're reconnecting with your body. And that's where you want to be. If you feel connected with your body, you're going to eat differently. You're going to think about food differently. Spend 10 minutes calling someone on the phone, like when do we ever do that anymore? And reaching out to someone and having a conversation. So you find 10 minutes, and then that gives you motivation that you can apply toward other things. So it's like, I did this thing I don't normally do. It's something in the direction of how I want my day to go. It's reconnecting me with my values. And then from there, I can use that extra boost to apply it towards this other thing that's kind of difficult, like feeling tired. and wanting to snack to wake yourself up, or feeling emotionally exhausted and struggling to help your child who's also having a hard time.
I love the examples you gave there. I think that can be applied. I love the whole 8 hours later, right? Not future self 10 years from now. It's in the next eight
Exactly.
hours, right? I love that.
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
think it's very practical, and there's definitely some things that we can definitely take down and utilize in small bites, small bits. That kind of makes those
Hmm.
changes. Doc, I could talk to you for so many more other things, especially when you brought up autism. Like, oh, that's another thing I love. But
Yeah.
before we go, can you just share with everyone how they can find you, connect with you? I know you have an app for weight loss and that. If you don't mind sharing all that, I'll have that on the show notes for the listeners. But go ahead and just share.
Oh, sure. Yeah, it's the No Way app, spelled WEIGH. And the whole idea, as it suggests, is taking your attention away from the numbers and the tracking and the logging, and investing in better mental health and making intentional decisions that reconnect you with who you are, and taking a more authentic approach to change that will also be longer term. And that's available in the app stores, both of them. And we're on Instagram. It's No Way app, and also Facebook.
Love it. And for all the listeners, I'll have that in the show notes. I think that's getting into the mental side with weight loss is where the key is, at least in my experience, it's been. So check that out for everyone. Doc, this was awesome. I appreciate you taking the time to join us and sharing how we can be a little better and how to change behaviors a little bit and how to be more happy. I think more fulfilled. I don't like the word happy. I like more fulfilled on
Mhm.
what you shared today. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Dr. Vic. This was really fun.